Sometimes we don't realize that things we think are healthy might actually be hurting us, especially after 60. Today, I want to gently walk you through 6 exercises that could quietly harm your heart and show you simple, safer ways to stay strong and active instead. Let's start with something I hear often. I just wanted to get my heart rate up a little. Nothing crazy. Sounds harmless, right? But if you're over 60, certain types of jumping exercises, like jumping jacks, jump rope, or burpees, may do more harm than good. I know they seem like a quick way to get the blood flowing, especially when you're short on time. But the truth is, these high-impact moves can put serious pressure on your heart and joints. As we age, the elasticity of our blood vessels decreases. Our bones and connective tissues aren't what they used to be, and our heart doesn't respond to sudden spikes in activity the way it did in our 40s. What feels like a good sweat session can actually trigger irregular heartbeat, dizziness, or even sudden fatigue. If you've ever felt winded or lightheaded after a few jumps, it might not be just getting older. It could be your heart telling you to slow down. I've worked in cardiac care for nearly 2 decades, and I've seen this play out more than I can count. One gentleman, Walter from Des Moines, 71 years old, came to me after a scare at his local gym. He'd decided to get back in shape after retiring and thought that doing burpees would help him drop some weight fast. He wasn't pushing himself too hard, or so he thought, but after a week he started experiencing shortness of breath and tightness in his chest. He brushed it off until he nearly collapsed, walking up his front steps. Turns out, the intense jumping was pushing his heart into overdrive and triggering episodes of arrhythmia. Another woman, Donna, 68, from Fresno, had taken up jump rope again, something she loved in her childhood. But now, each session left her wiped out and shaky. After a couple of close calls, she came in for a checkup, and her cardiologist advised her to steer clear of impact-heavy movements. What both Walter and Donna needed wasn't to stop moving, but to move smarter. Once they adjusted their routines, their energy returned, and so did their confidence. It was a powerful reminder. More sweat doesn't mean more health. What often helps people in your shoes is switching to gentler alternatives that still get your body moving. One of the easiest ways is simple, marching in place with slow, intentional steps. You can lift your knees slightly or add a light swing of the arms for balance and rhythm. Another good option is standing heel raises, just lifting yourself slowly onto the balls of your feet and lowering back down. Both of these keep your circulation going and gently work your lower body without shocking your heart or joints. Do them near a sturdy chair or countertop for support. You don't have to jump to stay healthy. Movement isn't a contest, it's a conversation with your body. The goal isn't intensity, it's consistency. Gentle, kind activity done daily will do far more for your heart than a sudden burst of effort ever could. You've come this far. Let your exercise work with you, not against you. Even the smallest step in the right direction still counts as progress. The next one might surprise you, because it's not about what you move, but how you breathe. Holding your breath during exercise, especially during something like a plank or a difficult stretch, might seem harmless at first. But if you're over 60, breath holding can quietly strain your heart more than you realize. When we hold our breath during physical effort, it temporarily increases the pressure inside the chest. This can restrict the return of blood to the heart, leading to sudden changes in blood pressure and rhythm. For someone with even mild heart concerns, and many folks don't even know they have them, this can result in dizziness, fatigue, or in some cases, chest discomfort. It's especially tricky because the effort might not feel that intense, yet the heart is being pushed into a stressful situation without warning. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 67, lives just outside of Charlotte, and is one of the most determined people I've met. A few years back, she started doing online fitness routines. Nothing extreme, just short daily workouts she found on YouTube. One day she followed a video that included planks, and the instructor encouraged participants to hold their breath for core stability. Margaret wanted to do it right, so she followed every instruction. After 2 weeks, she noticed a strange pattern. Every time she did the planks, she'd feel a little dizzy afterward, and sometimes got a mild headache. She thought maybe it was dehydration or posture. But one morning, she felt a sharp pressure in her chest during a stretch and decided to stop. A visit to her doctor revealed underlying coronary artery narrowing, not enough to feel in everyday life, but enough to be triggered by sudden internal pressure changes. We changed her routine, removed any movements that required breath holding, and she's now active and comfortable without those unpleasant side effects. Then there's James, 70, from Tucson. He had a habit of holding his breath every time. He lifted something heavy or bent over to stretch. It was unconscious, something he never really thought about. Until one day at his community center class, he stood up from a deep forward bend and felt a sudden wave of nausea and his vision blurred. EMS was called, and although he recovered fully, it was a scare that could have been avoided with one small change. One of the simplest changes you can make right now is to become aware of your breath during any movement. If you're doing an exercise and even something light, try this rhythm. Breathe in as you prepare or relax and breathe out as you move or exert. For example, if you're lifting your arms, inhale as they rise and exhale as they come down. If you're standing from a chair, inhale while seated, exhale as you rise. That small habit protects your heart more than you might think. Think of your breath as the soft music that guides your movement. It's there not to be held or silenced, but to flow. Every gentle inhale brings energy. Every exhale releases tension. You deserve to move in a way that feels nourishing, not overwhelming. Trust your body's signals and let breath lead the way, slow and steady. Let's talk about one that might seem harmless at first: deep squats with added weight. I know squats are often praised as one of the best full-body exercises out there. And yes, they have their place. But when you go too deep, especially while holding dumbbells or any kind of weight, your body pays a price. And if you're over 60, your heart might be the first to notice. Deep squats can sharply increase the pressure inside your chest and abdomen, affecting how blood returns to the heart. They also create a spike in blood pressure during the movement, particularly if you hold your breath or strain. And let's not forget the knees and hips, joints that have likely carried a lot of life already. For older adults, this type of effort can silently put too much stress on the cardiovascular system without obvious signs until something goes wrong. Frank, a 74-year-old from Cleveland, came to me after experiencing dizzy spells and swelling in his legs. He'd recently bought himself a pair of adjustable dumbbells and had begun a home routine based on a popular Get Strong at Any Age program. He felt motivated and wanted to stay independent, which I completely respect. But part of that program included weighted deep squats, going as low as possible while holding 20-pound weights. After a few weeks, Frank noticed his legs felt heavy in the morning, and he'd get out of breath just walking from room to room. His blood pressure, which had been stable, started creeping up. He thought maybe it was just the weather or a bad sleep cycle. But lab work and an echo showed signs of early heart strain. Another patient, Teresa, 69, from Little Rock, experienced knee pain and occasional lightheadedness during her weekly group class at the senior center. Turns out, her instructor encouraged challenging your depth, even while holding weights. It wasn't malicious, just a misunderstanding of how aging bodies adapt. We adjusted her plan, and she found a new rhythm that made her feel strong without compromising her heart or knees. One of the most helpful shifts you can make is trading deep, weighted squats for gentle, supported half squats. Here's how. Stand behind a sturdy chair, feet shoulder-width apart, and slowly lower yourself a few inches, just until your thighs are halfway to parallel. Then rise up slowly. Use the back of the chair for balance if needed. No weights, no rush, just steady movement. You don't need to go deep to grow strong. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay right where your body feels safe. Think of strength not as pushing yourself past the limit, but as listening to your limits and working with them. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to live fully, and that starts with moving wisely. Now let's look at something that feels like freedom: riding a bike, whether it's a real one or a stationary bike. For many people over 60, It brings back memories of childhood, of wind in your face, and the simple joy of movement. But here's the thing. When bike riding becomes intense, especially fast pedaling or going uphill, it can quietly become risky for your heart. That's because cycling at a high pace demands quick oxygen delivery to your muscles, which puts your heart under pressure. For someone younger, the heart might handle that stress just fine. But as we age, arteries tend to stiffen, and the heart needs more time and effort to respond to demand. What starts as a workout can quickly lead to chest tightness, dizziness, or even an irregular heartbeat, especially if you're pushing without brakes. Ellen, 69, from Sacramento, loved her home exercise bike. She'd hop on after breakfast, turn on the news and pedal for 30 minutes. But over time, she began to feel drained after her rides, not refreshed, but wiped out. Her daughter noticed she was pale one morning and suggested she slow things down. Ellen shrugged it off until one day she got off the bike and nearly fainted. Her doctor found signs of stress on her heart and recommended she stop intense cycling altogether. Then there's Marvin, 73, from Jacksonville, who had always taken pride in staying active. He rode his real bike around the neighborhood, often tackling a steep hill near his house. He thought the burn in his legs was a sign of getting stronger, until he began waking up with chest pressure and fatigue. After some tests, his cardiologist linked the symptoms to his heart struggling during those uphill climbs. What they both learned is something I share with many patients. Exercise should build you up, not break you down, and more effort isn't always better. What's often a better approach is choosing flat ground rides at a leisurely pace or setting your stationary bike to a gentle resistance, something that lets you carry on a conversation while you pedal. If you can't talk without gasping, you're going too fast. Another great option? Walking. A 20-minute walk outside, especially in fresh air, gives your heart the movement it needs without sudden spikes. Think of movement like music. It should have rhythm, not chaos. Your heart is a lifelong instrument, and it plays best when treated with care. You don't need to chase the wind to feel alive. A quiet, steady path will take you just as far and leave you feeling stronger, not strained. Let's move to something many folks try at home thinking it's a simple strength exercise: push-ups from the floor. I've heard so many older adults say, "I just want to build a little upper body strength." And I completely understand that goal. But when you drop to the floor and start pushing your body weight with your arms and chest, you might be putting your heart under unexpected stress, especially if you're not used to that kind of exertion. Regular push-ups engage large muscle groups and require strong chest, shoulder, and core engagement all at once. For someone over 60, particularly if they've been mostly sedentary or have existing heart issues, this full-body strain can cause a sudden spike in blood pressure, increased heart rate, and even breathlessness. It's not about weakness. It's about knowing your body's current limits and treating them with the respect they deserve. George, 73, from Omaha, told me that after watching a video titled "Push-Ups for Seniors," he decided to give it a go. On the first day, he managed 5, not bad, he thought. But after the 5th one, he felt flushed, lightheaded, and had trouble catching his breath. His wife insisted he sit down and rest. They brushed it off. A week later, after doing 10 push-ups in the morning, George experienced a sharp pressure in his chest, and his vision blurred. He ended up in the ER with elevated blood pressure and was diagnosed with exertion-induced arrhythmia. He didn't need medication. He needed to rethink his routine. Then there's Lorraine, 70, from Denver, who had been doing wall push-ups for months with no issues. One day, encouraged by a friend, she tried push-ups from the floor during a yoga class. By the 3rd rep, her arms trembled and she felt dizzy. She stopped just in time, and her instructor later admitted that those moves should be adjusted for older bodies. We went back to her wall routine and added some gentle resistance band work, and she's thriving again. One of the easiest, most heart-friendly swaps you can make is to do incline push-ups using a sturdy countertop, table, or even a wall. Stand a step or two back, place your hands shoulder-width apart, and slowly lower your body toward the surface, then press back up. Keep your movements controlled, your breath steady, and stop the moment you feel strain. Think of strength not as a contest of how low you can go, but how well you take care of the muscles that carry you through life. Your heart doesn't need big gestures. It needs thoughtful, gentle effort. Even small adjustments like this can add up to a stronger, safer, and more confident you. There's power in protecting yourself. Here's one that might not seem like a big deal until it is. I'm talking about exercises that involve bending your head below your heart, like the downward dog pose in yoga or deep forward bends. These movements can seem peaceful or even relaxing, especially if you're trying to stretch or wind down. But for people over 60, putting your head below your chest can suddenly change how blood flows to your brain and heart. When your body position shifts like this, it can lead to quick changes in blood pressure, reduced oxygen to the brain, and even trigger irregular rhythms in a heart that's already working hard to stay steady. For many older adults, this doesn't feel dangerous at first, just a little lightheadedness, maybe some pressure behind the eyes. But those are quiet warning signs the heart is under stress. Helen, 76, from Portland, loved her weekly yoga class. She told me it made her feel balanced and gave her a sense of peace. But one day, after practicing a routine with several poses that required her head to hang low, she got up and couldn't find her balance. Her vision blurred, her heart raced, and she felt like she might faint. Thankfully, a friend caught her and helped her sit down. When we reviewed what happened, it was clear that the calming sequence actually placed her cardiovascular system under strain. She wasn't doing anything wrong, just something her heart could no longer adapt to quickly. Another client, Dennis, 71, from Nashville, had taken up a home stretching routine that included touching his toes while standing. He thought it would help his back pain, but instead, he began feeling shaky and nauseated. He finally stopped when he nearly fell forward during a stretch. His doctor later confirmed that leaning over sharply caused his blood pressure to drop temporarily, a condition called orthostatic hypertension, which isn't uncommon in seniors. What often works better is staying upright or seated while stretching. If you want to stretch your hamstrings or back, try sitting tall in a chair and slowly reaching toward your knees or toes with a straight back and deep, steady breaths. You'll get the benefit of movement without risking sudden blood pressure shifts. And if you ever feel dizzy or off during any movement, that's your cue to pause. You don't need to go upside down to feel grounded. Sometimes the most healing movements are the simplest ones, the ones that meet your body exactly where it is, not where it used to be. Stretching isn't about shape. It's about presence, breath, and care. Let your heart be your guide, not your judge. If even one of these tips helped you rethink your routine, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss future advice. And remember, you're never alone on this path. Your heart is worth protecting, and so are you.